people see through that, like, I'm just owning a business to own a business kind of type mentality. And, it's important because those long days, those sleepless nights, those like low bank account moments where it's like, oh my God, what am I doing this for? If you aren't really passionate about it, it won't feel like there's a purpose to anything. So, I think that that's important. You have to have a drive, and it isn't just money.
Welcome to the Bold Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Kinnell, and this is a space where bold moves meet inspired action. Join us as we dive into stories, strategies, and mindset of those who are building their dreams, creating impactful communities, and redefining success on their terms. Whether you're looking for practical business tips, a boost of inspiration, or a community that gets your vision, you are in the right place. Get ready to elevate your journey and embrace what it means to be a bold founder. Let's dive in. All right, welcome back to the Bold Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Kinnell, and today we have an incredible guest joining us. She is a powerhouse in the beauty industry, a visionary entrepreneur, and someone who has taken her passion for makeup artistry and turned it into a thriving empire. Heather Dick is the founder of Blush Artistry Incorporated and the Expansion Code, and I'm beyond excited to have her on to the show today. Welcome, Heather. I'm really, really excited to have you on because we've known each other for quite some time through the wedding industry, but I've just loved watching what you've been creating and how you've been creating it and your why, and how we were talking off before we started recording about how it just all kind of came about. So I'm really excited to dive into that.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor to be here.
Okay, let's start by going through who you are. Let's
Sure.
start there. And then how this all kind of started. So if you want to just tell us a little bit about who you are, that would be amazing.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Heather. Obviously, I own Blush Artistry. I started doing makeup while I was in nursing school, actually. So I got my makeup certification just to kind of make money on the side, not really understanding how the industry worked, and you need clients to make money. But while I was in school, I got a job with Estee Lauder, and I quickly found that this was my passion. It was, do you know the word dharma?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So it was like my dharma. It was like my purpose, and I don't think it was necessarily makeup specifically, but I loved working with people, and I loved the community, and it's just such a fun industry. And so in 2007, I started Blush Artistry. I trade named the name Blush, and I was off and running, and I was working for Lauder kind of here and there throughout the city, and I grew as high as I could go. And meanwhile, I was still working at my parents' business. So my parents owned an auto body shop, so I grew up in, business ownership. And in 2013, I actually started a Facebook page for my makeup, and I was a very late adopter of social media, and I started to post my work. And it was crazy. It was an onslaught of people. Oh my God, I've been looking for you forever. I want to book you. And so it was like, okay, yeah. So I started booking people. My schedule was full. And I was like, I should get a makeup artist to work with me. So I actually hired a past bride of mine, and we were then a team of 2. And then her schedule was full. And then there was 5 of us. And then there was only 5 makeup artists, and people kept asking for hair. And so I was like, you know what? We got to get a hairstylist. Then we were uneven. Then we were 5 and 1. And it honestly, it's like I woke up one day and we were a team of 12. I don't even know how it happened. I don't really remember who it was. I'm so sorry. I love you all. You're like, most of them are still on the team. But it was crazy. It just grew. And we were all operating out of my business, or out of my home studio that I'd built. And it was so fun. It was just organic growth. Everyone that was on the team was very, very talented. They took it seriously, but were also very lighthearted. It was awesome. It was just very organic growth. And I moved to Shore Park, so I had moved into a different home studio, which gave us more space. We were then able to develop the whole basement studio. So then we had 700 square feet. We had a hair sink, 2 hair chairs, a 10-person makeup station, and a treatment room in my house. And in 2019, before COVID hit, there was 25 of us operating out of my house. it was chaotic. And you know what? Honestly, Jen, I didn't realize how chaotic it was until COVID hit. Because it was like all of a sudden you're very aware of how close everyone is. And so during COVID, I actually started looking for a commercial space. And that's when I was able to take advantage of really good commercial lease rates. And we moved into our commercial space in 2021. And that was 4,700 square feet. And honestly, since then, it's just been opportunity after opportunity that I've been able to kind of snag. And we can talk about like the growth stages and whatnot. But that's how we got here. It was very, very organic. And it was by doing great work and being really mindful of who I hired.
Oh my gosh, you just blew through like all of the things I was going to ask you. And so we're going to definitely dive into more of them. But I really, really love like so many things. Okay, one of the things I want to talk about, because I didn't know you worked for your parents' auto body shop. Yeah. And I think that for me, for my story, I worked for my parents in their construction company. Oh. And so I feel like when you get to see firsthand your parents doing something that they love, but also seeing their success, their struggles and their like hardships too. But I think that really shapes who you are as an entrepreneur. Do you feel like that as well?
Oh gosh, it was my business school. It was, I cleaned cars. I did parts for the auto body shop. I helped people at the front desk. So I was like office manager. I did basically every aspect of that business. And I don't know what business school is like because I've never gone to college or university for that. I'm sure it's very helpful. But when you get firsthand experience on how to deal with a disgruntled customer, how to really track your invoices, ins and outs, it's the best learning experience that I could have ever gotten. And seeing how my parents interact with people was the biggest lesson that I could have ever had, because now I know the best way to handle clients and my team. Like it was night and day. It was easily the best experience I could have ever had owning my business now.
Oh, I am so happy you said this, because I feel like this never gets talked about that often, but I do really think that, like, because I also did not go to business school. I went to graphic design, like totally opposite. And so I think that it's so, so powerful, the things that we learn when we don't even realize we're learning them. We're just in like the doing. So when you're doing the books and stuff like that, you don't even realize how you are setting yourself up because you're doing it for someone else. Like, it's not for you, right? So when you have to do it for yourself, it just makes you see the whole picture a little bit easier.
Yeah. And I think that, a family business is very different than a corporate business. Like it was our name that was going out there. So not only was it very important that every dollar that gets saved goes back to my company, like to my family, but it's our reputation. And so, our customers and our clients, no matter what business or industry you're in, they're your billboard. And when you take care of your people, they take care of you back. And I really learned this. I mean, car accidents are huge. People are insanely traumatized by it. And being able to manage all of that, it's the same thing with the wedding industry. Like there's just, people are wild,
chaos.
know?
Yeah.
Chaos. And so having that firsthand experience, and also like the whereabouts to be like, this isn't actually that big of a deal. It's all good. We can handle this. It's just a hairstyle. It's just a makeup application. It's just flowers, it gives perspective.
Yeah, I actually couldn't agree more with that, because it really is like you understand what is important and what people value, and you're able to like speak to that, right? And then if it's not something that's not a big deal, then you can also use like that calm voice for them who are feeling a little bit chaotic to be like, no, this isn't a big deal. Don't worry about this. Like, I just think that I love that you've learned so much from working with your family. One of the things that I learned from working with my family was that we were also very like family oriented business. Our employees were like family. They've been with us forever, and we were lucky enough that we didn't really have to lay a lot of them off, or any of them, depending on the summers or the winters, which was amazing. And so did you find that also when you were working for your parents, that when you like the people that you work with in your team, they're kind of like family? And have you brought that forward to your current business?
Oh, 100%, Jen. 100%. Yeah, it's like the community is so important, and I think that we're lacking so much connection nowadays. And you can see it, you can see when clients love being in a space, when your team loves being there. And it's
Yeah.
addictive, you know, like you think about if you've ever taken like a group yoga class and everyone's breathing at the same time and you're all sharing this experience together, it's addictive. And we forget about that, you know, we forget about how much community and family matters in this world. That's a show, Family Matters. But it's
Mm-hmm.
true.
Yep. Okay. So when you were building your team originally in the wedding industry, what were some of the struggles that you kind of went through originally as you were doing that? Because, or do you find yourself that you were pretty lucky and that it all just kind of seemed to work out smoothly?
Um, no, I mean, having a team, like I have a team of over 50 now. So, you know, there's always struggles with leading and managing people, whether you have two or 50. Um, I think one of the biggest and most important things when you're hiring a team is making sure that you're vetting your people and really listening to your intuition. Because I think lots of times we're so eager to hire and grow that we ignore red flags. So, one of the things with my team is that the wedding industry, specifically the freelancers, they have a contract that everything goes through Blush. And that's not a money grab. It's not me being greedy. It's just so we can stay consistent with our pricing, our branding, everything is the same. I mean, these girls are, I shouldn't say girls, but artists are very well taken care of. But that's one of the things. And that doesn't work for everyone. You know, lots of people want to be independent contractors, but just kind of take jobs here and there. And there's certainly been times where I ignored that kind of initial, like, oh, I can see this person doesn't really love this, but
Yeah.
I love the way they do makeup. Um, and so, you know, it certainly isn't like it's not, no bridges have been burned. But I would say that, you know, growing at a rapid rate, you can find yourself hiring too quickly. And I think that maybe sometimes you have to do the cleaning yourself, and maybe sometimes you have to do all the booking, and you have to kind of take on way more than you want. But to ensure you have a good team behind you, that's way more valuable than just rushing into it and hiring anyone with a heartbeat. Because we've seen that. You've seen that in the construction industry. I've seen that in the auto body industry. You know, like it doesn't usually work out.
No, and you're right. There are usually red flags, and sometimes we're like, no, we're too busy right now. No, we gotta like you said, you like how she does her makeup. Then you do avoid them, and then eventually they do really show themselves, and you're like, okay, I can see that. But it is a learned lesson, right? Like you see who you don't want to work with or have on your team, same thing, and who you do want to work with, and you start like attracting more of the people you really want because you just can see the difference.
And also, I'm a huge believer in like energy and vibration and frequency and stuff. And if you've got a large team of individuals working together and, you know, one person is kind of vibrating on a different frequency, doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. It's just different. They move their own way out, kind of, you know, like they just don't feel like they fit in. And so, you know, let's say someone is like loves to complain, and the rest of the team isn't like that. They won't feel like they belong anyway. So sometimes it takes care of itself. But
Yeah.
you know, I would say that one of the things with teams where, you know, I'm a people pleaser, and I've potentially left things going for longer than I should have. So that's always, you know, that it's just not good. You're not doing anyone a favor when you let a contract go on longer than it should be, or keep someone on a team when they should be somewhere else, you know?
Okay, so how are you keeping your team connected and like all on that same vibe, really, when you have 50 of them? Because that's quite a bit, and they're all freelancers, so they're not like in the office all together at the same time, right? So how are you keeping your branding, your mission, your everything with your business very cohesive?
So I do monthly newsletters, like internal monthly newsletters. This I find the team loves because they get an insight as to like what's happening in our event space. It gives a shout out to someone that has done a really good job last month, like, you know, and it could be small. It's like, hey, Christine, thank you so much for watering the plants all the time. You know, like it doesn't always have to be like, wow, you hit your goal. But just something like that. And I find that togetherness really helps people feel informed. We do team building like events kind of quite regularly. So, and it doesn't have to be a big to do. Like the other month we did like a PJ party, and we had popcorn and a bunch of candy, you know, like it doesn't have to be a big, huge escape room or something with a big lot of organization, and anyone comes that wants to come. And honestly, this sounds kind of like hard ass, but I don't really put up with shit, and I don't, if I see something that's starting to kind of brew in the background, I don't let it continue to brew, because, gossiping for instance is just not like, it's a non-negotiable. I don't allow that. I think it's just very poor. If you have nothing better to do than talk about someone else, then you got to get a hobby. So that's the kind of stuff, I'll nip it in the butt right away, and I think as a leader of a team, you need to be confident enough, and you need to have the balls to kind of stand up, and you can do it nicely, but just, you have to set the ground. You're a parent essentially, right?
Yeah, and that's good to know and good for people to think of, because like as a people pleaser, then yeah, it's easy to just kind of like let it brush it under the rug. But really, it's only hurting you and your business in the long run. And so by putting your foot down or nipping into the butt and just saying, look, this isn't acceptable here, you're setting the tone for everyone else.
Yeah, and it's a standard, and I think that having like standard operating procedures, like this is like when you're welcome to the team, this is the expectation. You talk to Rachel, she's our salon manager, she'll give you the rundown, like keeping things cohesive. People want to succeed, and they want to have the tools to do a good job. And so if you as an owner or a leader of a team are kind of withholding that from someone, even something small, like if you're running a hair salon and they don't have enough towels, you have to set your people up for success. And a little goes a long way. I think that, like, I'm barely at the studio, but they don't feel unsupported.
That's amazing then.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to dive into a little bit of a different direction, which is you created an event space, which I think is really very cool. Like it's still aligned with the wedding industry part, but I think the fact that you're creating this space is really amazing, because there just isn't enough really neat wedding and event spaces in Edmonton. Like they're starting to come, and we're starting to get some more unique ones, which is really cool. But I think it's just such a good thing to have been able to bring this. So can you tell us a little bit about your vision behind creating a physical space?
Okay. Well, Jen, it was by accident. So I didn't really have a vision. Actually, what happened with our first, so I'll give a little backstory on the space that we have. So I now have over 12,000 square feet. But our initial space was 4,700, and that's on 2 floors. And when we had our grand opening party, I love parties, first of all. When we had our grand opening party, I was like, man, this is a great place to have a party. And, it's just wide open. There's tons of windows. Like it was awesome. And so being in the wedding industry, things are very seasonal, right? And so our upstairs, where we would have all of the hair and makeup happen during the wedding season, was empty. Or like randomly used one day a week or whatever, right? And so my husband actually built all of the stations that are in our space, and they're on casters so they can roll around. So I was like, you know what? Let's start renting this out and see what happens. It's a big, huge, and maybe if you have show notes, we can put like a resource and people can see the virtual tour now, because it's incredible. But so they can roll the stations out, and we just started with that. And then in June of 2024, so just last year, there was an opportunity to take over the space next door, which is 8,000 square feet. There's a gym on the main floor, chiro, physio, like a wellness medical clinic. And then on the main floor, it's a mezzanine, about 2,500 square feet, and it was empty. And it marries with Blush's wall. Huge, beautiful. And I was like, man, this guy dipped out on his lease that was next door. And my husband was like, you should take that lease over. I was like, oh, God, that space is huge. Like, that's a big lease. And if anyone knows commercial space, like, you pay by the square foot. Like, it's not cheap. And so I thought about it for 2 days. And then I was like, yeah, I called my realtor, and I was like, I need to take this space over next door. And I had, visions of everything and what it would look like. And so we opened up a hole in the wall. And now it's 2,500 square feet. We built another kitchen. We have a really enclosed, like private room that people could use for yoga, sound baths. Like there's a girl that rents it for like early childhood development music classes. So it's just a bunch of kids banging around on xylophones. Like it's just so cute. But it's very convertible. So it's, again, unintentional, but the opportunities arose, and because I'm a dreamer and a doer. And I was like, we got to monopolize on this space. And so and it's taken off, Jen. It's awesome.
Okay, my question for you is, I love how you just like, things come to you and you're like, let's do it. Like, that is amazing. Not everybody is like that. I'm much more of a like, let's sit and think and really like figure the logistics and how's this going to work. And I'm sure you did that, but I feel like you're also more like, let's just do it. Let's just do it, right?
Do you have more to say, or can I say something?
I have more to say, but I'll let you add it because I can tell you have something to say.
Well, I'm going to say it's this last expansion. I wish I thought about it a little bit more, because it was not as turnkey as I thought it was going to be. And with expansions and commercial build-outs, it's always more work than you think. But this was like double the budget. You know, like it was supposed to be $75,000. It turned out being $150,000, which I paid cash. We had to enclose a stairwell in blush. It was a nightmare. But if I would have known, I would have never said yes. So I would have been like, nah, that's okay. We're good as we are. We don't need the extra 8,000 square feet. So I think that there's a nice balance between, you know, Cameron always said, that's my husband. He says, I'm not smart enough to be scared. And I think that's maybe what it is.
That's kind of a good thing though, because a lot of people are scared and they'll hold themselves back from doing things, right?
Yeah.
And then that at that point, they'll also potentially miss incredible opportunities coming their way because they're too scared to move forward.
Totally. And a messy start is still a start.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the one question I wanted to follow that up with is, you know how seasonal the event industry is and weddings are. So when you decided to move forward, like, did you have a vision for how you were going to fill those like seasonal lulls?
Well, I'll be honest, this commercial space, I was able to snag a very good rate on the square footage. So the upper floor of Blush is about 5,000 square feet. And it has 8 treatment rooms in it. Those treatment rooms pay rent per month. They make the rent up there. So this event space is kind of extra. Anything extra, it's like clawing my way back after the renovations. But so I don't have a ton of pressure to rent it out year round. So that's nice. But
Perfect.
Have a very large community of individuals that are in the yoga and wellness industry, puppy yoga. Because we have a bridal business, like with hair and makeup, we are doing so many bridal showers. And we just are very good at networking and getting our event space out there. So, you know, so far, and our rates are good, you know, like we're not comparing with like Hotel McDonald or like, you know, really fancy Fairmont. You know, one of the rooms you can rent for $50 an hour. So like,
That's
you know,
incredible.
it's
like,
awesome. And
yeah.
You know, I'm of the mindset, like, I didn't make that $50 if you didn't rent it. So like, I'd rather rent it for less and make $300 on a day than not make $300 at all.
Yeah. I also teach a lot of entrepreneurs how to create more events for their business so that they can get like in front of their target audience. Because when you're in front of your people, you can create that connection so much faster. And so I think that having a space like that is really, really needed, because there's not a lot of spaces that are affordable for smaller business entrepreneurs. And even if you're a little bit bigger, like it costs a lot of money to just rent a space.
So what do you do for your network, for your people that you work with? Like, what's the guidance that you give them for parties or network events to go to?
For going to other networking events or creating them?
Both. Creating would be more interesting.
So creating them, I always say, like, if you're looking, like, we're just talking about event space, I always say, like, pick a space that, one, meets your budget, but also feels really good for you. And you need to find out, like, what do they offer? Do they offer tables? Do they offer chairs? Do they offer linens? Are you allowed to bring in your own caterer? Are they going to make you use their caterer? Can you bring your own bartender? Do they have a liquor license? Like, there's a lot of things when it comes to what you could use. But if you have a little bit more freedom, like you get to bring in your own food, that's amazing. If you get to bring in like specialty bartenders who can make you specialty cocktails, that really helps with your budget as well. And so I think just thinking about like, what do you really want out of your event? And does the venue align with that and help you achieve that?
I think that, people don't really do networking events anymore. Do you see them?
I do see them a little bit. Like I have my community, the Bold Founders community, where we would get together every month, but there's not a whole lot of them.
See, and like when I was starting off in the wedding industry in 2013, 2014, they would have wedding mixers all the time. And it wasn't even necessarily anyone that was a part of a certain network. It was just wedding vendors, photographers, planners, whatever it was. Everyone's going to meet at this hotel and they're just going to mix and mingle. And I think that, people get scared of those events, and I understand why, because they're kind of like a million first dates. But
Yeah.
it's so important to get in front of, like you said, your target audience, get in front of your people. And, having an event space in Blush benefits every single one of my tenants there, because now I have 18 tenants that work there. So now, like, for instance, there was an event on Sunday night. There was 35 people in one of the rooms, and all of those people are asking me about Blush. What do they do here? What else do they offer? And so it's just a big, huge cycle of referrals.
And do you notice, so when I was in the wedding industry, I would go to all of those mixers and stuff like that. And I really found that I found my people within the industry. So the people that I always referred to and they always referred back to me and who I loved working with. And so it really helped me grow my business so much faster than you could ever do just networking with them online. And it's way easier to network online, but it's also like you're not really putting yourself out there. You're not creating those solid friendships and alliances and loyalty until you're in the same room and you're actually talking.
I totally agree. And I think that, like I said, like we said, even at the beginning of the episode, we have our people and we have our community, and you want people to say your room in a name full of, or in a room, you want people to say your name in a room full of strangers,
Yeah.
And so and not just your team and your family and your best friend. You want it to be a wedding planner that you worked with. You want it to be a photographer. You want it to be whatever, it doesn't necessarily have to be specific to event planning. That's your background, obviously. But, I think that we discredit how important personal connections are. And especially when you're working so close with one another. Like if you don't jive, that's kind of important, Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know when that kind of went away, because you're right, there was way more events that were going on, even industry-specific events that were going on, and you don't see them as much anymore. And maybe that is because it's a little bit harder to host them now, right? It's harder to find the venues for it. It's harder to find the people that are willing to participate. Selling tickets is another total thing you have to handle and take over. But it really moves the needle. There's nothing that makes your audience fall in love with you faster than getting to see you laugh and smile and get excited about your projects, and even just seeing your space for you, getting them to see the space and the feeling and the vibe and the atmosphere is so crucial.
Yeah, well, think about, I was going to say, if you ever did online dating, you would know that you could have this connection with someone online, whether it's texting or through DMs or whatever. And then you meet them and you're like, wow, you were not at all what I thought you were going to be. Not necessarily even in a bad way. It's just not what I thought. And we have these social media relationships now, these DM relationships. It's like, oh, I know this person. She's my friend, but she's not really your friend. And, I think that the social media is really, I hate to be a almost 40-year-old and blame it on social media, but it is a problem with that. It's a great advertising tool. It's a great networking tool to find people, but to build your community, I don't necessarily think you're going to get loyalty out of it.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point to say, because it's almost like a superficial friendship because you haven't really built that real connection that you need when you're in person. It's not I love the people that I've met online, and I like communicating with them and supporting them and cheering them on. But you're right. There is something very amazing and magical about meeting someone in person and really connecting with them and building that loyalty. Because I agree. I don't think the loyalty really comes from just social media.
And, especially being in the service industry, like hair and makeup, I've seen this time again, people that will go to someone that has 50,000 followers because they have 50,000 followers, but they're only going to go once because they probably didn't make a connection with that person. They just wanted to go for clout and be like, oh, so-and-so did my makeup and they're famous. And, but the people that they come back to are the people that they feel great around and they feel listened to and, comfortable and warm. It's not a popularity contest, even though that's what people kind of treat it like nowadays, which is slightly frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's switch a little bit I want to talk about the realities of being an entrepreneur and a boss. God. So it's not always pretty, right? No. Even in the beauty industry. What are some of the hardest lessons that you've learned as a business owner?
Oh my gosh, like so many ideas are rattling through my head right now. What do you want it to be specific to, like team leadership, growth, like commercial space? Because I got lessons in all those areas. Is there anything specific?
No, nothing specific. You get to pick.
I would say when it comes to creating relationships, build a relationship that you are close, so you're close to someone, but don't get too close. And I don't mean this in like I'm a very trusting person, but I find it's really easy to blur lines in business and friendship, especially when there's lots of women and we're like really like, oh my God, let's hang out. Let's do all this fun stuff. I think what happens, especially when you're a leader and you become really good friends with someone that works for you or, in a situation like that, it can just get really blurry and it can get really complicated. And it's really hard to not play favorites and, kind of dishonor yourself and your business if you aren't careful. So I would say that is one of the biggest lessons. And then I would say that you're going to be way more poor than you think.
I work way more hours than you expected.
It's, like when I worked for my parents, my bank account I was flush, like I was making money. I had X amount of dollars deposited into my account every month. I was just living the dream. I'm living an even better dream now. I don't have as much money. I have way more freedom. But it's a lot, it's different. There's a lot different stressors that come with making your own money and being the one that's responsible for your own paycheck. And I think that, it's exhilarating and it makes you feel alive, but there's a lot of times where you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm not sleeping very well. I've got to pay X amount of dollars to this contractor and payroll is coming up and GST is due. And, it's a lot. So I think that, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. And I also think it's okay if it doesn't work out for you, because I think that, there's people out there that are great employees or great contractors, and there's people that are great leaders, and we need both of them in this world. And it's okay to not be a great business owner or a great employee, no pressure.
Yeah. And I think that's beautiful because, like you said, some people just aren't cut out to be an entrepreneur. And there's days where I am like, maybe I should just get a job and then I can work from my 9 to 5 and I can come home and I can shut off and I can have my weekends and my holidays. But I do agree that you get so much more freedom because you get to plan your day. You get to decide what your days look like, right? And it's not always like that all the time. There's times where it is go mode and you are just like, that's it. You've got to like hustle and do it. But I also think that it allows you to really create a life that you love. And I think that's the beautiful thing. But it does come with things like taxes and busy seasons and slow seasons and trying to figure out your accounting and teams. Like there's a lot that goes with it. So I think give it a try. If this is something you're interested in, give it a try. And really, like it's not going to be easy. Entrepreneurship is never easy. And every time you're like, oh, this is amazing, it's doing so good. Like there is a curveball coming your way 1,000%.
Immediately.
That is, yeah.
Yeah. I also think that if you're going to own a business, start a business, take over a business, whatever it is, I genuinely do believe that you need to have some sort of passion for at least the industry that you're going into or the item that you're selling or the service that you're offering, because people see through that, like, I'm just owning a business to own a business kind of type mentality.
Yeah.
And, it's important because those long days, those sleepless nights, those like low bank account moments where it's like, oh my God, what am I doing this for? If you aren't really passionate about it,
Mm-hmm.
it won't feel like there's a purpose to anything. So, I think that that's important. You have to have a drive, and it isn't just money.
Yeah. And you're going to burn out, and your audience is also going to see that you don't have the passion and the excitement, because it really is the passion and excitement that sells it. Like, they say that you can't just hire someone to do like work in your business, because they are never going to have the same love that you have for it. Right. And so they're not going to have the sleepless hours that we put into our business and stuff like that. It's not the same. And so I think you need to be aware that when you do decide to start a business, you just really need to love it, because it's your why all the way through that pushes you through those hard moments and those tough struggles.
Yeah, I will say though, Jen, because I do have a couple team members that treat Blush like it's theirs. And that starts with like a leadership thing. So it's not impossible to have a team member or an employee or a contractor. Not that I want them to have sleepless nights, but take things so seriously where they are like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
And that comes with culture. That comes with like community. And that comes with like building a village of people that really, really care about their position in the team and the team's success and the company's success. But you're right. It's no one else is paying the bills. It's no one else's. It falls on our shoulders. And I think that that's a very heavy load to carry. It's a lot. It's a lot at all times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do you deal with that? How do you find balance between being a leader, being passionate about what you do, but also keeping the business moving forward?
I think, being pretty strict with my schedule is something that I've come to really like harness, so I block full days for things. So I have I coach beauty entrepreneurs. So whether they're looking to like scale their home-based business or build a team or whatever. And so I do that just on Mondays and Tuesdays. Obviously I'm a little bit flexible, but those are the days that I always want to do that work. So I create those boundaries for myself. On Wednesday afternoons, I'm always at a coffee shop. So if the team wants to come and talk to me, they can come and talk to me. I'm at a coffee shop from 1 to 4. So they know that they don't have to bug me. They can come and talk to me that day. I also think it's important to just be realistic and understand that you don't have to do everything right now. Nothing, like if I don't answer the 20 emails in my inbox until tomorrow, they're still going to be there. We have this state of urgency all the time that we're constantly trying to chase. I need to answer these text messages. I need to do this. I need to do that. And that's why we're anxious. We're an anxious bunch. And so I think that just trying to be mindful of that, starting my day with meditation, starting my day with like a really mindful, slow, intentional living helps ground myself. So then when I go to the studio and I get bombarded by people for an hour, I'm in a little bit more of a better headspace. And so I can lead the company and be able to make decisions with a clear mind.
I love that you do that. The time blocking, I think, really helps you to like set your mind into here's exactly what I'm doing this day. It helps your team, which is really huge for them to know that these are the times that they can come to you if they have any questions or need help with anything. And then also just having like giving yourself grace and saying, okay, if I don't get to this email, it's not a big deal. It'll be there tomorrow. Because I do think you're right. We see the email and we're like, oh, we should respond to this right away or it's going to get lost. Like for me, my emails will get lost in my emails. Like they'll work their way down and then I'm always worried that I'm going to miss it. So I will typically respond pretty quickly and then be like, oh, I should have waited. Like done it within business hours, but...
Well, I actually don't keep business hours. I'm kind of like that. I make up as I go because I don't want to give myself. It was really hard to get out of the mentality when I stopped working at my parents' business that if I wasn't working at 8 a.m. in the morning, I wasn't working. And so it takes a lot to get out of that like unhealthy mentality. So if I answer emails at 9 o'clock at night, that's my choice. But I think that just setting those expectations with yourself. So lots of times, Jen, I don't even really start work until 1, 12 o'clock sometimes, and in the morning I'll go to the gym, and I got my hair done this morning, like I don't necessarily have to keep strict hours. And I think that when we set those, like when we just lower our expectations and just realize, like, just relax, bro. It's fine. We're okay. I should take my own advice sometimes, but it's all good. It's going to get done. Unless the place is on fire, you're good.
Okay, this is amazing, because this is actually something that I'm dealing with right now. Is I have that mindset that, okay, I start work at 9 and I go up until I get my kids, and that's like my work hours. And then when I have days where I'm not as busy, I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? Right? Versus changing it to say, you know what? It's really good for me to wake up and work out in the morning first thing before I get into the office, and not to sacrifice that because I have so much to do. You're even more productive when you spend time to do stuff like and take care of yourself, like working out in the morning before you get into your office. It doesn't actually change the amount of work I get done.
No.
Amazingly. Like, you lose an hour and I still get the same amount of work done, which is crazy. But I think getting out of that mindset that we need to work 9 to 5, we can work whatever hours we want.
And that's
as long as we get our work done.
Totally. And that's the blessing of owning a company, and I also think that it's not a one size fits all. Lots of people don't really like waking up until 8 or 9 in the morning, which is crazy to me, but that's just how I work, and we also, I'm done with, like, when I worked at the shop and I was running Blush at the same time, I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning. I wasn't stopping work until 10 o'clock at night. Like, I don't want that lifestyle anymore. I've worked really hard to not do that. And it's okay if I get a massage in the middle of the day. It's okay if I take a day off. Like yesterday, I was exhausted. We had team photos on Sunday, and it's like having 40 children at me. Like, it's exhausting. And I took a nap in the middle of a Monday, and I was like, I don't even feel guilty. This was amazing. No. What a blessing.
Such a blessing. And it does take some time to really, like, remove that guilt from it. But I think that you've worked hard to create the business that you want and to create the schedule you want. And why not enjoy it? If you can fit that into your work-life balance, then why not?
And we have this, especially in the beauty industry, like, this hustle culture is just detrimental to our health. Like, if you're not working 10, 12 hours a day, it's like bragging rights of, like, oh, I did 3 color, whatever. I don't really want to speak a language that people don't know about on your podcast, but like, it's a really bad habit of getting into this, like, bragging of how much we worked. And then you look at, like, I always think about, like, those billionaires on yachts in the Mediterranean, and they're 45 just cruising around. And I was like, no, man, that's a way bigger bragging right. When they've got a bunch of babes around them drinking vodka martinis, and like, that's what we want. We don't want to be waking up at 4 a.m. every day, and it's like, it's silly, So, like, you just got to change your mindset a little bit, and it'll take some time. But, like, rewiring your brain to kind of think that it's just that's not the goal.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Good.
All right, so let's talk about your newest venture, the beauty business consulting that you're doing. So I'd really like to hear about how you're supporting beauty professionals and a little bit more about what's going on with this new chapter.
I appreciate it. So over the past 10 years, I've always had people come up to me, like, and I'm sure you've had this as well. Hey, I just want to take you out for coffee. I want to pick your brain real quick. I want to pick your brain about this. I have questions about this. And I was always like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I've helped so many people, like, open their businesses, and they'll come back to me and they're like, oh man, I'm so glad I took your advice. This really worked out. This didn't. And I'm so glad we listened to you. And, I realized that at one point, like, my time is really valuable, and I have a lot to share, and I love sharing. I love people. I love people's businesses, and I'm very passionate about others' success. And so I really wanted my pillars to, my areas of impact is what my coaching mentor calls it, to be confident leadership. So if you're looking to go from a team of 1 to 2 to 5, whatever it is. So building a team, how do you get there? Scaling your home-based business to a commercial space. So that's a whole wide spectrum, but it's, it's pretty self-explanatory in the title. And then also the actual commercial build out process. So if anyone has ever built a commercial space, they'll understand that it is just so much more involvement than you could ever imagine. And I think that one of the things that is really challenging is you're running your business and you're expanding and you're doing all of these contractors and all that kind of stuff. And it's really hard. It's really stressful. And so, I wanted to help business owners, and especially those that are doing a commercial expansion, with the process of, you need this, you need permits, you need, and not just like a general contractor, like the whole thing. Because I love it, but everyone hates it. It's the bane of everyone's existence. But I've done it so many times. It's super fun to me.
Yeah, but that's probably because if they've never done it before and they're running a business at the same time, it can be very overwhelming. So to have somebody guiding you through, like, here's what's important, here's what you need to focus on, here's what's coming ahead of you. Because if you don't know, you don't really know what to expect, right? But if you've already gone through it and you're guiding them, that's huge.
Yeah, and it's not like, hey, I built a studio and now I can help you build one. Like I've had 3 studios in my back pocket and 2 expansions. So, it's the amount of commercial build outs that I've done has been extensive. And so, I think that we just have these rose colored glasses on, and I'm certainly not going to be your like wake up call, but I can take the brunt of it, because it is so stressful and there's so many sleepless nights. So if you just allow me to take that on, it'll be a much more positive experience than a lot of people, look at it as a wedding planner. People are like, oh, I wish I hired a wedding planner. It's the exact same thing. I'm a wedding planner of commercial build outs.
Yeah. And then you help them on the way, like afterwards. Like, so let's say even after you've had the commercial build out, now what? Like, how do you integrate this into your business? How do you market it? How do you fill the spaces? Right? Like, those are the things people don't think about either, right?
Totally.
So it's nice to have that.
And your general contractor isn't going to say to you, okay, so what software system are you using at your front point of sale? How are you going to train your team member? Who's going to be doing this? Who's going to be doing that? Like, there's just, and I know that we know this as business owners. I'm certainly not discrediting what people know. But you need a professional for every single one aspect of these businesses. And I mean, certainly with the first time I opened studios, I was like the first studio I opened, we had those old fashioned makeup vanity lights, and they were halogen light bulbs, and they were scorching hot. Like, clients I remember one bride, she's like, I told you guys to come in your bathing suits. It's so hot in this studio. I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. But those are the lessons that I've learned, so people don't have to learn them,
Yeah. It's kind of like when I do events, I can see what is going to happen before it even happens.
Totally.
Right? Like, because you've gone through enough experiences that you're like, oh, let's do this route instead. Oh, don't work with this person, or let's bring in this person. Like, you can see things that are going to happen before, and you can catch them before they ever happen. Plus, when they do happen and you didn't see it coming, you're calmer.
Totally.
You're the calm voice of reason that's like, no problem, we can handle this.
Totally, yeah. And even you as an event planner, there's so many things your clients have no idea even happened. That's your job. That's your job.
Yeah.
Also, I think that especially in the beauty industry, I mean, we're a lovely bunch, but we aren't necessarily construction contractors, and we're not, county permit departments, and so. There was one client I was working with. She's like, I think we could just put this beautiful archway here and big, huge glass doors. And I was like, bro, that's a $50,000 addition that you just said there. You can do it way nicer on a budget without, but they just don't know. And so.
No, because you see what you see on Pinterest and on what other people have done. And you're like, oh, I want that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with weddings, and people come and be like, oh, I want these big flower arches. And you're like, do you understand that's not going to fit into your budget?
Yeah. And that's how people get caught. They're like, your contractor says, well, you said you wanted this. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, I didn't realize it was going to cost $80,000. Like one of my girlfriends, when she was building her clinic, had asked for a sink to be in an area. And she didn't realize that they had to dig underground and put plumbing underneath the concrete. But they
Yeah.
did it. And then they said, oh, yeah, no, it was an extra, so it's just situations like that that you can avoid by having someone in your corner.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I think that'll be really helpful. And I think even talking about like just building out a team, I hear from a lot of businesses that they struggle with figuring out how to build a team and they don't know where to go to ask for that because there really isn't a lot of resources that support you with that. So I think that's incredible that you are offering that.
Yeah, and I think that, a lot of times we don't break it down enough. We're like, "Oh, I'm so busy, I need someone else to do makeup." But maybe you need someone else to do your booking. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
need to simplify other things. Like what is actually important to you when you're building a team?
Mm-hmm.
And what are the tasks you want to get off of your plate in order to do your job better or run your company smoother or more efficient? So it's not always like hiring a social media person, like maybe
Yeah.
you love doing social media. It's just being intentional with the people that you're hiring and not doing like a cookie cutter, this is who I should start with.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with my social media agency is that when I wanted to hire someone, like my background is graphic design. So I usually do all the graphics for my clients. But when I decided to hire someone, I actually brought on a graphic designer because
Mm.
as much as I like it, I find that if I do all the graphics, it's too much for me and I'm creatively like done. But
Mm-hmm.
I love the like marketing aspect and figuring out like the content plan of what we're going to focus on that month and really push the content in that direction. I like the psychology behind that. And so bringing on a graphic designer, although that is what I do, was the best thing for me. And it would not have been what you would typically have thought.
Yeah, and I think that you said it perfectly. Like you have self-awareness of like I know that this drains me, like it takes all my creativity out.
Yeah.
And we really need to work on that. I think as just a collective whole of understanding, something like if like when I'm recording for my podcast, I'll do like 3 episodes in a row, but I'm not doing anything else for the rest of the day,
Yeah.
because it is a lot.
Yeah.
Um and we that's another thing of having like those expectations as a business owner, like really understanding what are you actually capable of doing, and it's okay if you can only do 2 things that day, like
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be a 9 to 5 hustle, full stop sprint to the end of the day until you crash on your couch and don't even talk to your partner and just eat itchy ban.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do that because maybe they still have that mindset where they need to work 9 to 5. And so they're working all day long, but their body and their mind, because they're in such a creative mode or they're really focused on what they're doing, it drains faster than doing something that is just like step and repeat.
I honestly think that creating is so much more energy output
Mhm.
than we give it credit for. Even something like coming up with a caption for a social media post.
Yeah, it definitely is. I remember when I used to work for my parents and I was doing their bookkeeping, I could easily just like put on a podcast, listen to the podcast and like go. And now when I'm doing like the marketing planning for clients, I cannot have anything like I can have background music, but no way can I have a podcast happening because I cannot think about what we need to do, write the caption and follow along what's going on in this murder mystery content.
Totally. I completely agree. It's I wish I could do both because it would be really
Yeah.
nice. I'd love to do like be a little bit more efficient with that and like consuming my content, but it's just not happening.
Yeah.
I need all my focus on this computer.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I want to know, since we're kind of at the end of this podcast, what is something that you would leave our audience with, like a piece of advice or something you wish you knew when you started, whatever it might be?
This isn't something that I wish I knew when I started. It's something that I brought with from my parents' business, and it is kindness goes a lot further than you think it does. And that isn't just with your clients, it's with your team, it's with your vendors, it's with the people you're meeting at a network. And when you give grace to all of these people that are in your world, your community builds a lot faster because you have this kindness in your heart. And when you're dealing with individuals, you don't know their story. You don't know what they're going through. No one knows what I'm going through either. And when we give each other just this space to kind of be the people that we are, the world is a much, much better, happier place. So, you can ease up on trying to force things to happen, force people to be like fit in a little hole that they don't fit into. And, just be kind to one another. And I know that sounds so silly, but that's how businesses grow, is when you really have that like genuine heart and you want others to succeed.
And I think that's important in today's world because we push so hard and we hustle. Like there's that hustle culture where you're just like going and going and going. And so when you come up with someone who's not going as quickly as you are, but you need their stuff done right now so you can move on to the next step, coming at it with kindness is going to get you way further down the road than pushing and like trying to get them to do what you want, right? Like, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that, I think that especially when you're dealing with clients or team members that are potentially going through a hard time or they've had a really bad experience, we don't take it personally. They're not coming at us personally. Also, this moment will pass in a blink. So we really need to have just perspective of what is happening in front of us, what is actually important right in this moment. Yeah. And you are okay. Your business is okay. You are safe. It's all good. It makes things a lot easier when you can just have this, like, my mom said this word to me yesterday, radical acceptance, when you're just like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah.
That's amazing. I don't think anybody has said that on this podcast, but yet it's like so easy, so simple, something that we can easily forget also, but is really necessary in our lives, the world, and for our customers.
What do people usually say?
It's all different stuff, but nothing about like just bring kindness to everybody else. Like there's things like experiences like when we talk about the pivot and how hard the pivots can be and how resilience is really important. Like we've tons of different conversations about that, but never just like give grace.
Mm-hmm. It's so important. Like and give grace yourself first. The first person that needs grace is yourself, man. I promise you. It'll just be so much nicer when you can wake up in the morning and be like, it's okay. I'm okay. I got this.
Doesn't it feel better when you're like, we're good. Don't worry about that.
And you know what? When I have a team of 50 and they look at me and they're like, wow, that was like a pretty stressful situation. And Heather was just like, it's all good, man. It makes them calm down. They're, like you said, we're the calm voice, right? Like we're the ones that are like, we're there to keep that homeostasis in whatever space you're occupying. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Where can people find you? We like that.
Multiple places. So my business Blush is, you can find us at Blush Artistry MUA or blush-artistry.ca. And it's got a link to our event space on there. There's a separate page. I'm not going to overload you with websites. But then my consulting business is called The Expansion Code. And you can find us on Instagram, The Expansion Code. I haven't posted anything yet because I'm waiting to launch the podcast. And or I am Heather Dick. And depending on when this episode launches, I will have a podcast coming out as well. So you could search us up anywhere you can find podcasts.
Amazing. I'm so excited we got to talk today.
Me too.
Like, I love the conversations we talked about that, like, I was like, we're going to talk about this, but I love how we've also moved into totally different areas. Like, I just love how you think about how you, like, about your business, about your team, about even just, like, giving yourself grace. I think it's just such a beautiful conversation that we've had, and I think it's really going to help our listeners, like, in their business and really think about what they want.
I hope so. I hope that, and also you're not alone. I know you feel so lonely. I know as a business owner, you feel like you're just like, you have no one on your side. That's why it's important to hire coaches. That's why it's important to have, that like network of individuals, of professionals behind you to support you. And, I think it's important to reach out to those people if you can. Yeah, definitely. It makes a world of a difference. Heck yeah. To have the mentors and coaches, but then also just have your community of women that you can be like, I'm struggling with this. Help. Yes. Or totally. I need to vent about this. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on today.
There was so many good conversations in that interview with Heather, and so many of them I wasn't expecting to come about. So I'm really excited to dive into these key takeaways that I wrote down as we were going, because there were so many things and I'm sure I'm missing a ton. But one of the first ones was I wrote down business school. And so what I mean by that is working for, like, both of us working for our parents was the very best business school we could have had in terms of getting us ready for business. So just because actually neither of us have a business degree, it doesn't mean that we are not like awesome entrepreneurs and good at what we do, because we've really learned through experience by being hands-on in both of our parents' companies and how much that has shaped who we are as an entrepreneur, our skills, our strengths, even our weaknesses, but also just like giving us the drive to just go for it and to see things like how to do the QuickBooks, behind the scenes of that, how to deal with customers, how to get in there and get like gritty and do the hard work. Her working in her auto body shop, me working in the refinery. So I just think that just because you don't go to business school or have a specific background related to business and entrepreneurship does not mean that you cannot create the life of your dreams. You can create anything you want. And I think that look at where you've come from and your background yourself and how that has shaped who you are and why you are the perfect person to create your business. All right, number 2 is to just roll with it. This is something that you're going to learn as an entrepreneur no matter what, because every time we create like ideas of what we want in our business and our path, we're going to get from here to here and it's going to be amazing. It never works that way. Your business is going to have like highs and lows and super lows, incredible highs that you're going to celebrate. And so I just love this idea of rolling with it. Like for Heather, opportunities came about and she's like, yeah, let's do it. We're going to go for it. And it doesn't mean that they're always going to work out exactly as we planned it, but why not take advantage of the opportunities that come our way? Or why not say yes to things that could be incredible and align with our business and our brand and where we want to go? And so just think about ways in your business. Are you rolling with it, or are you putting up walls and you're even like stopping those opportunities from coming your way because you're scared or fearful, or you're just not ready, or maybe we're just way too busy and we just have no time for it? But look at the things that could potentially come your way if you were open to having them happen. So I really loved that part of our conversation. And then the last one, which was actually her last piece of advice, which was to just give kindness and grace. So not only kindness and grace to your community and to your clients, but also to ourselves. It is so easy to put crazy expectations on ourselves as to what we want to see from our business, what we expect from us to have done, our expectations on even just responding to an email as soon as it's in there. Give yourself grace. If you're not feeling well, it's okay to take a day off. If you want to start like working out in the morning, it's okay for you to say, I'm going to work out because it is a good thing for me, my mind, and then I will start my office hours, right? Like, or then I'll go into the office and start doing some work. And really, like I said, for me, when I personally started to add that on, I'm just as productive as I was when I wasn't doing it. So you never know what could come about of it. But just give yourself grace. Stop being so hard on yourself. Give everybody you're working with grace. And it's really incredible where that takes us in ourselves personally, but also in our businesses. So today's conversation was really, really incredible. I'm so thankful for Heather for joining us. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you love this episode, share it on your socials and tag me, Jen Kinnell. I would love to hear your biggest takeaways. And if you're ready to experience more boldness to the next level, don't miss the Bold Experience 2025 happening October 7th at the Whitewood Barn. This is more than just an event. It's a high energy transformational day designed for women in business who are ready to make bold moves, build powerful connections, and take their brand to new heights. Expect inspiring speakers, actionable strategies, and a community of like-minded women who are all in on creating the life of their dreams. If you're serious about stepping up into the next level of your business and impact, this is where you need to be. Join us at the Be Bold Experience 2025, and I cannot wait to see you there.